say actions speak louder than words. What exactly are they saying?
Well, I think we live in a society where we like talking than acting. But I think no matter how much we talk, we may not do much. It is an action. That's why you find that even in Japan, they believe in teaching through action. They say a picture or an action is worth 1,000 words. Meaning, if you do, we say 90% of what we learn is remembered when we engage our learners. So if we do an action, we perform something, it solves a problem that would have described in 1,000 words. Mm-hmm. So that's why even the Bible says a faith that is only said is dead, but a faith that is put in pragmatics becomes a living faith that we can see and attest to.
Wow. Let's go into the conversation.
Thank you.
This is just a week plus after the results were released, the Form 4. And that means those guys that just came out and got graded are looking for placements in colleges. Okay?
Yeah.
But also that touches on their career paths.
Yep.
Okay? So I want you to just look at the results. Okay? And then make a forecast. Next 4 or 5 years, what careers are we going to see?
Well, I think I am a trained career coach with Career Guidance, College of Career Guidance Kenya, in collaboration with the ABMA UK. It's actually the only college currently offering a diploma to the career guides. It's an online program based in Nairobi. And one of the things that we must be privy to is technological disruption in the world of careers. So many things are going to happen that are going to be earth-breaking in lines of career because of the coming of technology. Let me say just on the lighter note, look at a few years ago we had this career called tour guides. Young men who are very energetic, very strong. They would wait for tours for tourists at Nairobi, take them to Mombasa, take them to Nairobi Park and so forth. And it was a lucrative job. But as we speak today, that work is no longer there because of the Google Drive machine. An app that directs you verbally on where you should go by giving you clear direction. 500 meters, turn right, you'll meet this building. So with that kind of invention, do you really need a human being that you will feed and pay? So people opt to go for that. Hospitality industry in terms of serving and even cleaning, the AI disruption. We now have machines that can serve. And I usually make fun and say they are more courteous than even real human beings.
Yeah, because they are programmed to be courteous.
Yeah, they are programmed to be courteous. They'll bring food and say, boss, take your lunch from the second tray. Enjoy your meal, boss. Yes. But if you ordinarily went to a local restaurant on a busy lunchtime, the waiter will just be saying nani ng'ombe, nani mbuzi, so you don't know whether the human beings are the cows and the goats or the meals they're asking for. So
maybe you should approach you or he'll approach you and say Umeuzwa.
Yeah.
And the surah is that of
kazi, no jokes.
So there is no humanness.
Yeah, no human touch in that work. So when you go to a machine that tells you boss, and you know very well where you work, nobody recognizes you as a boss. It gives you the desire to go back in that environment. But that is just to say, even in piloting, you now have autopiloted planes that can go for 3 hours unmanned. The pilot is taking tea with you and you're flying in there.
Yes.
So with that, it has reduced the number of how many co-pilots we need to run a plane. So definitely, as we take careers, I always say, change your passion into a profession.
Okay.
Do that thing that you enjoy as your talent, that you do not struggle to do it. Even if you are waking up, you find you are happy to go to your workplace, you enjoy, you are more creative, and more productive than going to become a doctor because you think it pays much. And that is the problem we have.
Yes.
The question is, inalipa kweli? So people push themselves. I usually use the analogy of animals, that you have your goat that you push to do the work of a donkey because apparently the demand for donkey work is more, and you feel you also need to get from the donkey income. So you push your goat. I don't know how far it will go without dying under the weight
It will
of the work.
not make any moves.
So that's why we have problems in the line of career. We do not really help our learners to identify their niche and their heartbeat. When you
Mostly, when you look at the way the minister, when they delivered the exams, there was a bit of obsession with the A's and B's and C pluses and C's. The excitement was so much there. But then, the category of guys who managed to obtain the A's and B's, you get, have specific focus with what they want to be or to do for their future, okay? But then, a huge chunk who may have wanted to do what these guys were aspiring to do never attain the grades. So that forces them to either rewrite the exams or go outside the debate way. Okay? Now, after the exams, results are here, so the next move is college. A lot of these guys fall off the way. Why? Because the cost of education is very high. What advice do you have for these guys? A few of them will actually gain entrance to the colleges, but the bulk are getting lost in between here. What advice do you have?
Well, I think you brought up around 3 critical things. One is in terms of the placement.
Yes.
That we have 1 million students and roughly 260 qualified to go to university as we look at the breakdown, with around 1,600 and something A-planes. But I'm a director of career services Kibabii University. I'm a national mentor of schools in Kenya that have been number 1 within the highest ranking.
Okay.
I'm known across Kenya, and fortunately, by God's grace, I've been able to travel abroad to talk to students in the US, most recent last year in Pakistan.
Okay.
Just invited to talk to students about one of the topics is self-awareness. The sad reality is that even that 1,600 S, whom we are going to give engineering, medicine, and all those high-flying careers, very few of them complete those courses. You find that in the University of Nairobi, maybe they need 250 doctors, and they pick from the A's and put them there. By the time 4 years down the line, you will have around 40 graduating. The rest disappeared, and they took other courses which they feel they are comfortable with. So the question that begs is sometimes even the A's we are having, in some instances, they are not genuine. And we have glorified those A's and at times displaced the rightful people. We have students who have B's and B pluses, given a chance to be doctors. And I would surprise you, for the last 2 years in Kibabii University, and I also saw the same in Egerton, the best students, you'll be surprised, have been C plus. Like at the end of the graduation in Kibabii, our valedictory speech was given by a student of 293 marks at KCP. He went to a day school, got a B minus, came to Kibabii Education Science and got 74 points, the highest first class honors. Wow. I saw in Egerton a student from Bungoma here with 275 marks. He went to a day school, got I think a C plus, went to Egerton, became the best. So that's why we need to have a break and really even ask ourselves who are positioning those students. Is it passion driven? Is it ability driven? I've done a model of course selection that is called RIASEC by John Holland. John Holland diagnoses people into 6 categories. R stands for real ability, pragmatic. People who are born to do practical works.
Yes.
There are people actually, they just are men of action. If you put them where they are supposed to sit and make stories, they're out of the assignment. And then the next one, investigators. Those who just are inclined towards investigating, finding out things. So you can position them in areas we need that. We have those who are artistic. They don't want to be caged. They want to be free to try out and do things on their own and come up with the new innovations. There are those who do things to benefit humanity. We call them the social intelligence. A man who will die for the best interest of the community. They are not self-centered. And that's why we realize that even in our political arena today, we don't have those guys who are supposed to be social intelligence. Those are people in medical, in teaching, in politics, for public service. You are ready to sacrifice your good. We say service beyond self. And then entrepreneurial, those who look around for opportunities that they can turn around and make a living. And conventional, those who operate within the setup rules like accounts, finance.
Yes.
You know, they are kind of formula you must follow.
Yes.
So if you position people in that kind of order, you find that nobody will be lost. So we need to diagnose how we are positioning these people, not just looking at the A, B, and C, because actually that does not define a human being. Yeah, what defines a human being, if we had something to help us find their passion, we will be doing. That's why when parents come to my office, they say, my child got a B. What do you think is good for them? I say, no, it's like you're asking me to treat a patient who is at home by looking at you. You are prescribing the disease of a man who is lying at home, but then I use you to write the medicine. That is quite bad. I'm not supposed to diagnose to somebody else. And even when the student comes, I'm not giving them what is the best. The best to them is what will resonate with their interests and their ability. So we need to sit down, and that's why I'm happy with the CBC. We will implement it the way it wants. It's supposed to be. It might solve that. So the issue of A, and we have had even students who get C employing the A. Someone gets a C, is very clear in their mind they want to be maybe civil engineers. They go to Sangalo, train as civil engineers, 3 years. The next year they form a company, they connect with the county government, they are given a project of 10 million. Whom do they employ? They are the A materials who are at Kibabii University doing accounts and finance. He will politely tell them, kuja tusaidiane kazi, because he doesn't want to say, come and I employ you. Sema mzee kuja tusaidiane.
Kuna kazi.
Yeah.
Well, then there's a follow-up question on that. You see, you talked about a parent and a student. A parent speaking on behalf of the student. At what point do we bring in the interests of the parent into the choices of students? Because students want to be something, but there are under parents who wants them to be something.
You know, the biggest disease we have is that many of us parents had a dream career, and for one reason or another, at times we didn't attain it. And you wanted to complete it through your child by force. Maybe you wanted to be a lawyer, you didn't. So somehow you want to force your child and say you must become a lawyer. Because that is what you thought would be a very good career. And the other sad scenario is during the December meetings, when we meet as a bigger family. Your elder brother says, in my house I have an engineer, I have a lawyer, I have a what. So you also want to transform your children in some of those careers so that when you meet, all of you look very important. And that will sacrifice the passion of the children on the altar of pleasing our parents. So there's a level that parents ought to come in. One is create an environment that will allow the child to unfold naturally like a flower. Allow them to bring out their talents, and then let them meet somebody like me who will give them a ground to speak about what they desire, and then I guide them within the realities of the market issues. So your parent, you can facilitate to get a guide, will help your students to get the information, and once they are satisfied with that, then you come in to finance them so that they become what they became. But if you want to prescribe and say, unless you do this, I'll not pay for you, certainly sometimes I had those kind of cases.
So you force, okay, when parents force you to do, actually they may not force you, and you as a student, you are under pressure to do what your parent will want. But then we may want to encourage them to divorce that. So what's the best method? How are we supposed to ask these guys to let them choose their own paths?
Well, I think one of the things that schools are supposed to do, and sadly they are not, most of our schools are bringing around comedians in the name of motivational speakers to speak to our students. Just make them laugh, but we are not having people who are having an introspective dimension of raising a child. Career life is a long life preparation. So I expect like schools I've been to, some of them like the Kapsabet schools, St. Bridget's, and Kabianga school, Mosocho, they have been very deliberate, even Kolanya girls. They are very deliberate that when you are mentoring a class, you'll have a chance to speak to the teachers, you'll have a chance to speak to the parents, and then work with the students. And the reason why you bring in the parents, one, is in terms of supporting the program that you put in place. What are the requirements? And one of the requirements, I always say, it will be prudent that these students visit a university, have an exposure with the university environment, and not just visiting the buildings. Kibabii have a unique program that we are running, and that's why we host thousands of students per year. When they come around, they will interact with the various sectors, like our international data center, our forensic lab, our media studio, and then the library, the electronic library section, and then we have a very intense interaction with them, beginning with the students from different schools and faculties. And then me as the director of careers, I also come and share the realities of life and careers to them. So the reason being, I educate parents on the trends on career, and also on how to allow the children become what they ought to be. You'll be surprised, somebody like Nameless. Nameless is supposed to be an architectural engineer. So if somebody discovered this guy is a singer, would have taken him to music academy, would have done better. The wife, who is a statistician at Masters. Again, she was forced to follow mathematics, but because
she's a musician.
But you find eventually now maths is only used maybe to manage the business funds, but not much. The talent that was there that would have been developed more was ignored. So we need schools to adapt parental education, parental guidance, that we come and talk to the parents to appreciate about career issues, so that when they also are given a chance, because in Form 2, they are told, guide your children on what they should choose. And some of them sit down, write everything, and say, pelekea mwalimu, apeane. So you find a child is doing a course, but you ask them now, how did you find yourself in this course? Then my father said, if I don't take it, you will not pay fees for me. So it becomes a waste. But otherwise, if they are guided to know that children are unique, you may have your child, you are a lawyer, but your child wants to be a singer. You are an engineer, your child wants to be a teacher. Don't say teachers are poor and I want you to be a rich engineer like me. Just support them to be who they are. And when people are supported to become who they are, just like Churchill in Ndabuki, I wanted to invite him in Kibabii one time, and he told me an hour of his time is 500,000 to come and entertain us. But a few years ago, I think that is madness, just laughing around like a mad fellow. But the laugh industry in Kenya is now a psychological therapy. So we need to allow our children, guide them cautiously. When they choose silly things, we also tell them, whatever you are doing, is it able to help you? Will it employ you? Will it earn you an income? Yes. Will it make you fulfilled?
I remember in my childhood, it was a taboo to be found with a music instrument. Because we were
musicians who are spoiled people in the community.
And we grew up not, as in we never accommodated that in our growing up. And then I'm saying that to say this, looking at last results, and do you get any picture of what these guys want to be, or that when someone brings you an A, does that tell you what this guy wants to be? Or for you to know that this guy with an A has to be a medical doctor, you have to talk to him. Looking at A, B, C, does it give you what these guys want to be? Or it is us outside who decide these are the C's, let's take them to Kamasika or Kisiwa. Yeah, because these ones are D's, let's all take them to Sigalagala. So by looking at the results, just tell the viewer, what is it they need to do further than just seeing the results?
Well, as I told you, the results in Kenya today are not meaningful. If we have a country where we generate 1,000 A's, there are times we even have had a school producing 300. Those are students who should be innovating things like Microsoft, coming out with innovations because they are geniuses. And A's are not supposed to be just a robot, an intellectual robot. Reproducing what you learned. It's supposed to be beyond the ability to remember, high level of ingenuity in terms of creativity and innovation. But as I told you, with my experience in the university over these years, I'm yet to see even the A. Sometimes I only hear during graduation when we now begin scrutinizing. This one was from a national school with an A, but is having a second class, maybe lower. They have even completely lost. They will not even be mentioned. You will not hear them. Actually, I'm surprised that when I'm in the university, I never see anything coming out of the student who are in the national school or not. They all come and they are the same. And at times, even those who are in the this day school, I usually challenge those in national. I say, if you are in a national school and you scored a C, if you are in a day school, you should have scored a D. Because for somebody to be in a day school and you get a C+, the amount of work you do, and apparently I was in a mixed day school in Busia. I learned in St. Marcus, a school at the border. So you find that in some classes from 2, you don't even have teachers. You read on your own. So by the time those guys, they are raised a C+, a B- or a B, these are very hard-working guys.
And then they're competing because outside the compound, there is immense pressure, maybe domestic activities and stuff like that.
Yeah, there are many things. Like I was a day scholar, so there's disco. There are people, like I remember the year I was doing exam, there was football, World Cup.
Good.
And those years in the 90s, we didn't have many TVs. So the whole village would come to our house even at midnight. They want to watch the game. But again, you must not remove your eyes on the goal. You remain focused. So the A's and the B's currently, to summarize, are not bringing us what we ought to see. They just actually grade, sit with that child again, and begin walking them through their minds. And apparently, and sadly so, that many of our children actually don't know what career is. It is still a very bad reality, and I want to make an appeal that I'm mentoring schools across Kenya, and still we are not even having enough of those in Bungoma who can walk to the university come. They can't even just walk and say, let's come and be talked to, or even invite these people to our school. They are not doing it. But the area of careers and the placement has just been left to throwing people with the grades. Do you realize that sometimes we can have a C person who will go to medical and take pharmacy? And within a year, that guy can even do the pharmacy at a degree and do very well. And we just rubbish them and say, go to Sangalo. We all position them maybe in agriculture. We throw them in building construction without caring that the other alternatives. And the other sad reality that is happening now, that many of us are training to be nurses, thinking that they want to go abroad. If you go to the MTCs, the nursing area is full, universities is full, but the mindset of those young people is that they want to go abroad. Abroad, they're also training. I was in the US, they're also training their nurses who are even more advanced by virtue of their technology. So you realize that soon we are going to have a crisis in 2 areas, teaching and nursing. They will be bloated. Because you are pushing everyone.
No market. Okay. I just want you to tell the viewers, you see, as a community, what should we do? I know of NADEF. NADEF is a CBO within Naitiri location. It has an annual arrangement where it brings together students from the community, and I realized last years they came from outside the location because it's attractive. They bring students and then they kind of encourage them on career choices based on their abilities. I think I should link you up to them so that you go and support that initiative and speak to those parents and students who come to their meetings.
I think last year had been put in the picture about the event.
Yes.
But I think they eventually said it had been cancelled at the 11th hour. I was to go there and facilitate.
So what I'm saying is, what should communities do? Because now as a community, let's say this is Bungoma town. It's Bungoma town apart from shops and supermarkets and garage and matatus and bodas. We live here. We have children. And there is a time where we meet.
Especially during holidays, like the one we had 10 weeks.
Yes. What should we do so that we actually discuss these things, matters career? Not, of course, based on the results, yes, but matters career and the future of our children.
Sure. So I think that you've evoked some fond memory in me. I have a friend from Kericho. Dr. Mtai was our Dean of Students. She is back in Moi. She told me in Kericho during December holiday, all the professionals from the locality, when they land back home, their next assignment is, can you gather the young people within the locality who want to talk to them? The doctors, the lawyers, all that are from that locality avail themselves as a giving back to the community. They gather the young people in different places and talk to them, matters career.
Yes.
And maybe now that this TV is a domicile in Bungoma, what I want to say is that it is very sad on how we are doing. When I work, because me I'm invited, even recently I was supposed to go to Narok, but I didn't make it. It collided with another event. I'd been invited where the community had gathered so many young people. We talked to them. Many of my students have taught in most in Kibabii and other areas. I see them abroad in Australia, in Canada and so forth. Because those communities are deliberate. They have realized that the best way to go is to empower the next generation, and they want to give them education that will support them, that will remove them from the current situation. So you find that even community leaders come together and fundraise. Sadly, you will hear like Eldoret, there have been areas of swindling, but you realize that there are also good beneficiaries. So you realize that I stay in Bungoma here, even churches. Our youth conferences during holidays are not always just about singing and dancing and prayer, which is very important, but most importantly, God wants a balanced human being that is spiritually empowered, but also economically viable and useful to their community before they go to heaven. So before I go to heaven, if I'm a doctor, I'm serving God by alleviating pain in people's life. Before I go to heaven, if I'm a lawyer, I can stand in to support the vulnerable that have no justice. Before I go to heaven as a teacher, you'll be surprised that annually, actually, I mentor between 500 to 1 million students in this country.
Wow.
So that is what we say we now need, and I can we can plan with you this year. We can do a mega youth invitation. One that is beginning is March. I'll be having an open day career at Kibabii University for everybody. Those who have finished school, I'll invite some people to come and share that. Maybe I will loop you in. Who can help us publicize. You will also bring your desk. But in December we can be deliberate this year. We look even for a stadium and do an open career day. I can volunteer. We do together. We look for sponsors.
That would be very important.
Let's pick it up with your plan for that. Look for sponsors, and I know they are listening to us. Because it will be sad. The value of a man is not what kind of things he leaves for his children, but what kind of people he leaves behind. The empowerment that you give them.
I want us to go to the break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the cost of education. Vis-a-vis, how do we pay our school fees? And why is, in your opinion, we have had very slow matching of the promise of paying school fees and commitment from the government? That's when we come back from the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for staying with the conversation on West TV. This is the Morning Scoop. It's underway. I thank you for following the conversation. I'm seeing comments. I've seen Dr. Hatete. She's a Professor Hatete from Nairobi University, and a few others who are sending me comments. Thank you so much for staying with West TV. When we come back, we'll continue with this conversation. Remember, this show is live on YouTube, and please keep in touch. This is CKS.
The Morning Scoop is sponsored by JFC Munene College of Health Sciences.
West TV, tazama ilivyo.
Naam, ili kujenga jamii inayojielewa lakini pia kufuatilia masuala ya kijamii, kiuchumi na kisiasa. Fuatilia hoja ya West TV kila Jumatatu saa 1 hadi saa 2 jioni.
Our concern was kwa nini how upload these budget documents?
How can a woman disappear from the cells?
Na wahakikishia hatua itachukuliwa na nyinyi mtaridhika.
Pata maelezo ya kina tunapokuletea wachanganuzi na wadadisi wa kuaminika.
Hatuna mahali pa kuuzia vitu
Kijamii, kisiasa lakini pia kiuchumi.
lakini hivyo ndio vile ilivyo.
Saa hizi inabidi tuzunguke. Imebidi wamama tung'ang'ane, tumvurute, tumtoe kwa maji.
Tukikuletea uchanganuzi wa kina kuhusu masuala yanayotuhusu katika kaunti za magharibi na vilevile katika taifa zima la Kenya.
Akikuja awe mwingine atafungwa miaka 5.
Kumbuka ni kila Jumatatu saa 1 hadi saa 2 jioni.
Welcome to JFC Munene Colleges, where education meets innovation. Our mission is to provide our students with a world-class education that prepares them for the future. We offer theater technology, orthopedic technology, mortuary science, science lab technology, counseling psychology. At the College of Business Technology, we offer hospitality, business and accountancy, fashion and design. We are not just preparing our students for the future, we are shaping it. Come join us at JFC Munene College of Health Sciences, where the possibilities are endless.
Oh my goodness, I have a gallery there, works of art. I've done so much for this country.
Within the next 50, 40 years, 100 years, we shall have a banyole, no mabaluya.
Nokole kazi, notiya nende tsingufu. Nyasaye aleta kumeta ebindu bindi bino byose.
Unaleta abana befwe abesekhana nabasyani okudekya okubana bima bilayi nende nebadekya banadekya bakhana babamanyire okutulasi paka akule. Nebusamie niyo bakangala nikusika balingange kuba batulire inibecha.
Makabusareti neche namukulira virumbeti, namukulira namuako chisendi.
Nasomia babana almost free. From here, I have a professor in Spain. Balio balala, mabara kanajewe ni yohumu ya kimyandu kyenyi.
Buli mesina buli na mujamutira sabuli memwaka na bamayali ngo amungonera byakulia.
Bone babana masone kumukundata. Kukonda no kana kana abana bano khasome bari.
Chinga na kaniche.
Kuna mara wakana kana luka rini your brain is broken.
West TV, tazama ilivyo.
The Morning Scoop is sponsored by JFC Munene College of Health Sciences.
Welcome back. The Morning Scoop is underway. I am so excited that we are continuing with the conversation. I'm here with Dr. Robert Wafula. He's an expert in, among other things, careers. And today we've been talking a little bit about that. I'm sure I'm going to invite you to talk at length about career and the disciplines in choosing those careers. Sure. But for now, I want us to look at the funding. You see, funding, the government has committed, given the promise and committed, and for the past 5 years, the promise from the government side is at 60%. they never fulfill the yearly commitment to schools, both primary and high school, and now the new funding model at the university. This is coming at a time when the cost of education is very high. Then the cost, it's actually driven by the high cost of living in the country. So this tends to jeopardize what these learners or the young generation, the upcoming generation, their future careers are in jeopardy, right? Yeah. What will be your opinion in terms of primary, high school, and university funding, and what should be the best way to support these learners?
Thank you, Caleb. I think by God's grace, beginning from 2017 to date, I've had a unique opportunity to visit different countries on matters education. In 2017, I had an invitation of a three-week training program in Jerusalem, courtesy of Ministry of Foreign Affairs by the agency called Mashav that looks at empowering the education sector in developing countries. So I was selected among 21 people we only took from Kenya. We took 3 weeks to visit all the universities in Israel and see what they are doing, even technical colleges. So what I realized that in those universities, issues of education has been made to be zero. Students go and learn, and they are empowered on how to serve their community. In 2019, I was invited twice in India. One of the people who invited me was our education attaché, who had been a college mate. We had two industries. One is called FICCI, Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce. Then the other one is called, do I even remember? I've forgotten the name of the industry. CIA, I think. Yeah, so again, we were taken through the link between industry and the universities. You look at the needs of the industry, and then the university is supposed to realign their curriculum and also train people, and they have mentors from these industries come and train the people they would want to have. And when you look at education in those countries is moving towards zero, because they believe that that is the best way to go. When you have an enlightened society, it's very easy to implement government agenda. We will not be quarreling about share and vaccination of cows if we have an elite community where you can even share information of your intention. They read, they ask questions, you will do it, and it is done. So I think in Kenya today, during the GNC demonstrations, the Gen Zs, there is a very open solution. They said when you analyze the amount of money we are sending to other bodies to bring us as bursaries and scholarships to the ministry, if that money was taken back to one basket and directly channeled to schools, we will have free education. For example, why do we need the school money to go to the office of the president? So that he can now bring a little, and some of it is used administratively. Why do you need the education money to go through the office of the vice president, the first ladies, the governor, the first lady, the MP, the MCA? And I want to make fun. We say that at times somebody brings 5,000 and uses 30,000 to bring it. The kind of escort team that is bringing the 5,000 and the Mheshimiwa is spending more on the road than what they are bringing.
So it's more than 30, because when you look at the media space that covers that.
I'm only looking at even fuel. I've even forgotten the most. So you see, those are the kind of mindsets that you cannot solve the 21st century mindset using the 19th century thinking. So if that money is put in one basket today and is released to the primary school, to the secondary school, even university, we are almost, if it is not free, it will be very little fee to pay.
You see, but the education sector has like 600 billion in its vote. That's huge.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. It is huge on the paper.
Bursaries when we have 600 billion already.
Yeah. You see, that's why we are creating unnecessary problems. We would first channel all that money. From there on, we now ask ourselves, are there those who feel they are very vulnerable, and helping them would be easier than this money we call the bursaries? And I want to be candid. You know, we don't go to school to be praise and worship leaders to our politicians, even when they are making mistakes. It is unfortunate that some of the money that is meant for the poor people in the bursaries is against channeled to high-cost schools like Nova in Eldoret, where they are paying only 300,000 per year. So you find the children of our elites are in those schools, and the money that is supposed to be for the poor is paying for them. So that's why when you try to touch it, it has also now become the dangling carrot, that a politician will use that to woo the voters. And that's why there's a mix-up. Somebody who is supposed to be checking implementation is the one also implementing. Even if a CDF has been a noble idea, but I think its time and relevance has come to an end. That money for education should just go to education, and then they just legislate and monitor. We'll have transparency. Otherwise, I cannot be the implementer and the monitor and expect me to give a fair, balanced report. So our legislation is the problem number one. Number two, you saw recently an MCA in was in Gishu, who was a class A dropout, but is an MCA. So he decided at least to get a Form 4 certificate. He went, for you to get a D-, you write your name, sit there, you can draw a cow and maybe English and Kiswahili a little, you get a D-. But look at the celebration that he had. A very massive celebration, because now he's a Form 4 leaver. And the sad reality is that this is a man we are going to entrust our billions of money to manage for us, to plan for us effectively without mega knowledge. My friend, we cannot get new results by doing things the same way.
So you are saying to solve the funding model, demolish what is existing.
We must demolish, just have a paradigm shift here.
Okay. And what is the place of scholarships? You see, scholarships is supposed to be a motivational tool, right?
Yeah.
Is that the case?
It's no longer. It's no longer. Because, we've made education out of reach, and as we come to the new system, like I'm a member of a board of some national schools, the sad reality is that there's no capitation. And whatever little parents are supposed to pay, again they are gagged. They are told there's no paying anything extra. So you find the principals are stressed, the teachers are stressed. You even PA levy, when you look at the Basic Education Act of 2013 revised in 2015, the existence of a PA is to finance. The role of the parents is to provide infrastructure, nutrition, motivation, discipline, and all those things. So when you say parents are not even supposed to pay their money to support the existing programs, are we really in touch with the reality that we want quality education? Because the government that is not having enough is again stopping for people who can come in and support. I know it's true, some places it has been abused, but then as much as we have had aeroplanes collapsing and killing people, have we stopped using aeroplanes to go to Europe, that we are now using border to go?
In fact, to go and serve those who perished, to use another aeroplane.
You use another aeroplane to fly to the funeral of those who died in the same.
Yeah.
So we need to be candid as a society. We need to sit down, because the only way to destroy a nation is destroy education. And
what's your opinion on the university funding model?
The university funding model, to me, the first thing is discriminative, and I want to be very honest. Because the few parents who are paying highest share are the ones with the salary. They are paying the highest in housing levy. They are paying NSSF. But the assumption is that they are still the richest, whose children should pay the highest. In the new funding model, the government removes its responsibility of funding what we call subsidizing education through capitation. In the old model, it was expected that any student who joined, and that is what we benefited, any student who joined you would be given a capitation of 120,000 basic. Anything extra is what we were now paying through HELB and through our own sources. But in the current model, the government does not commit on anything. They have removed it. That's why you find when you are told education cost is 360,000, it means that now they'll give you what they are calling a scholarship, and they will give you what they call now the scholarship basing on what they are assessing as your ability. But much of it is now the loans. In our times, a loan of 120 was enough to cover 4 years, and that was among the highest. So that's why we found that even if people have not been employed for some years, it accrues interest, but it's not so much. But now, it is easier for a student to get 120,000 as a loan per year. Multiplying that in 4 years, 5 years, is quite an amount. By the time they get employment, these are already indebted citizens. Yes. Before they even begin, before you are born, you already have a debt. In addition to what the government has borrowed, you already have your own. So I think we would have looked for better ways, and that's why I said the answer is simple. Let all the monies spread out all other offices in the name of scholarships and bursaries be consolidated, be sent to school, and the balance we can now ask ourselves, what do we do? But otherwise, the best thing we can do now for our young people is zero-rate education. Make education almost free, so that everybody can access it. And the other thing is that like universities, they need support. You'll be surprised that you go to a technical college where they have been given machines worth 100 million and there is nobody who knows how to operate. I was in some technical college in Busia. They have the freezers worth 65 million. They are just kept in a room. Nobody knows how to operate them. You come to a university like Kibabii, our labs are almost empty. They don't have facilities. Then tomorrow we are blamed that we are producing half-baked students, yet their facilities are not there. Our research money is always the easiest catch for slashing. When the budget is having a challenge, they slash the research money. So we find ourselves doing research is almost zero. We have the capacity. Many of us, when we go out there, people admire how well we are. But at home, we are not doing well, because you only cook a meal depending on the ingredients and the things that you are given to cook. If I'm given only unga, you can be sure the limitation is either uji or ugali. But given other things, I'll give a meal. So these are the real candid issues that as a nation we need to sit and say, let us educate our young people. Let us empower them in practical skills. And especially, as I said, we begin by identifying what is this guy supposed to do. Is he a footballer, as we are saying? And that's why they become the Lionel Messi. They will come and build hospitals and hotels. Lionel Messi runs hotels. Sadio Mane has built a school, a hospital, and various philanthropic things at home.
But you see, that is just one or two guys out of a population of 50 million.
Imagine.
The big question here is financial stress is reality.
Yeah.
Add that to the academic stress. So this student who comes from a family that they don't have enough, so the parent has to struggle to raise money for this student to be in class. At the same time, there is the environment at which this student is learning is adding to the pressure, because the academic work is also stressful. So at what time is this student supposed to move away from not having enough money to not having enough time to cover the papers? And then you as a parent will only be proud if you are invited that this guy has gotten an upper honors.
Yeah, so the reality is that as a director of careers,
mental illness.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, just like a dean of students, I can tell you sometimes my heart sinks in me. When a student comes to my office, it's not that he's lacking fee, but for almost a week has not had even water, cold black tea in their mouth. They would say, Daktari, I've slept 3 days continuously, hungry. If you can only even spare 50 shillings, I go and take a cup of uji. I'm now fighting for my survival before we talk about the education, the fee balance and other realities. This is one of the most troubling moments that I've gone through as a lecturer in this university in this era. The 21st century, that a university student almost starves to death. A university student looks for a house of 300 in a village to stay there. But out there we are saying everything is okay. We are doing well. The wastage of money as our leaders move abroad and do things is real. But it's sad, I can tell you. That's something that can break somebody's heart. Because I look at children who were told, you know, I met a student even in the streets recently. He told me, Dr. Wafula, you're our mentor. You told us that if we work hard, we will succeed. I worked hard and got a first-class honors in economics. But here I am tarmacking, I have even nothing, not even internship. But you'll be surprised, you go to a county government, you find people with class 8 certificates, faked papers. In government, people who cannot do anything are the ones ruling those. You know what Solomon says in the Bible, an evil under the sun. When the rulers become the subjects, and the subjects become the rulers, and they are supposed to think for them. So this is a reality. I've even come up with an endowment farm project, but I can assure you our political elites are not there. They would wish that you just remain, maybe you will be their fund, they give you 500, you sing their songs, and they are done. But we are not having, in fact on Sunday I was there with the students, they invited me to teach about giving, and I was asking them honestly, how many of us here have heard of a Raila Foundation that has paid fee for them? How many of us come from Rift Valley? There is a President Ruto Foundation, Wetangula Foundation, Kalonzo Musyoka, in across the nation. There is not that I'm biased, but that is what you see in America. That anybody who is a little endowed in the society, their next thing is that how can I give back to the community by starting a foundation to help our young people. But that is not the heart we are having in Kenya. But if I'm in a position, I amass everything for myself and control them. A university student today lacks the confidence to speak because at the end of the day, your self-esteem is battered by the needs. Even the way you are dressing. Sometimes you actually have just to encourage them. Say, you try. Even if he's washing the same clothes at night, wash it and try to be confident. But definitely, the reality is when you are battered economically, socially, many of them resort to drugs. And that's why you see I'm doing a course on trauma counseling. Because the reality is I meet students who are broken down. The education is not even a major need. It is now how to help them to balance their existence. I wish that the leaders, if they were born to serve this country, can listen to me. It is a moment that they must work with us who are working with the students directly and not just talking in the rallies, that they know the needs of our young learners. The reality is, you see a young girl has to be a parking girl in Kandui to make ends meet. That's why many of them are going with the sponsors, the grandfathers. They don't like it. If you are to sit with them, they say, it's true, I know it's bad, but how do I survive? I have a young man who at one time who had gotten lost to a Mama Pima of 75 years, a boy of 22 years. These are the sad realities, the heartbreaks that we go through as we serve our motherland. But what we expect from our leaders, they know everything, they plan for us. So it is a sad reality. Mental breakdown is a reality among our students, and it just stems from the basics. They can't afford anything from home. We had a student from Pokot who came as a first year with only the letter we sent, carried in her, not even an envelope, with slippers. She just asked trailers to assist her until she stepped to the university and said, I'm one of the students you admitted, even without a cloth to change, and is a girl. But it was a university in our poverty teachers, again, to gather together and say, what do? We have a case. And I want to thank God for our VC. We've interacted one-on-one. I've sometimes found him with deposits of even 70,000 from his salary. He's supporting students. So these are realities. If people want us to assist our country, and sadly, a good number of these students are from this county. they can take 8 years, finishing a degree of 4 years. So it's one of those that breaks my heart. You know, I was born as a son of a squatter from Trans Nzoia. I've had to fight to be what I am. And I will not wish that anybody's son or daughter goes through that. It's demeaning, heartbreaking.
Wow. You see, it has to be upon us to say no to some of these things and change the story. Because the picture the child is painting, wow, that is sad. And so when we see university students, sometimes we see them as, we group them as those ones. In reality, they're just our sons and our daughters. They need our support. And they need our time. What should parents do?
With the current times, you can't blame a parent. I have to work day and night to make ends meet. And as I compensate the economic, at times I lose out on the social empowerment. So we really need to work on a balanced system that ensures that there is dignity of a Kenyan. A Kenyan who can work and have time to rest and even raise the children. Otherwise, you'll blame the parents and think that they are not committed. No parent would want to have their children in drugs. But in the absence of struggling left and right, something happens at their back. So as a society, we really need to sit down and say, where did we go wrong? And how can we change? Because we have room to do things right. We have room to redeem our society so that we do not go to countries like, we become countries like Colombia, where there are drug lords everywhere. When you see young people grouping up as Mungiki, at times we might rubbish them, but if they are trying to tell the society that we have not listened to them. And I want to assure you now as a psychologist, and I also belong to an international organization, when we've been looking at the population on online, we have 404.4 billion people online today. You may rubbish them and say they are doing nothing online, but there are too many things that are going on online. We need to see how do we support these people, empower them. The reality is that transitions are happening and the young people have lost confidence in us, including me, my generation. We have let them down. We have spoken a lot of great things, but we have acted in the... You began by asking me, action and words. We can speak. We can make people euphoric, but our action is zero. And as I conclude, we say in child development that children are not good at following your don'ts and do's that you list, but they perfectly copy what you are doing. So the behavior of our young people is a mirror reflection of the character of the elders in the community. Even as we are lamenting them, the GNCs, you are mannerless, let's examine our behavior. How do we talk to one another? How do we handle our issues? A child, the late Madam Priscilla Were, Principal Ugulu used to say, a child smells like the mother. So our children are smelling like us, their dads and their mothers. And we will not run away by blaming, and no, we must ask ourselves, how do we do it better for a better society?
You see, every time a politician finds a microphone and a camera looking at him, or maybe in the absence of a camera but a crowd, they'll start first by just standing, listing things that are not relevant. What is important, we don't talk about them. We look at things that will still be classified as a promise. That promise, it gives us short-term gratification because we have faith in what they have said, or we want to believe that they have said something nice. But when it dawns on us that it was just a promise, we still have to go back to our stresses and pressures. as we end the show, what will be your what is it you want to tell our leaders?
I would not want to address leaders. I want to address the populace. That good life is never given. Good life is taken. Your vote determines the quality of life you want to live. Forget about the tribe, forget about the clan, forget about anything about anybody, but go for a man with a heart after your own heart. And if I love you, I love your child. Anybody who is not concerned about the best interest of your children and your life, just forget about them. It is the highest time that we forget. We have 46 million Kenyans, mothers who have given birth to sons and daughters. We must reach a place like Senegal and say, pick a young man we feel has an intention to heal our country and heal. So it is us, the voters, that are cheering up when people are saying wrong things. They are not doing anything, but we continue believing that this time they will do it. They failed the other time, they will now do it. But it's only a madman that will do things the same way and expect different results.
Whoa, that was a lot more emotional than I expected, and it was a lot more revealing than I expected. Thank you, Daktari, for being so open and being so candid. I'm going to make a promise to you that this is not going to be the end of your coming here. I want us to look at these things a little more in the coming month.
Sure.
I'll give you a day so you come and take this conversation to the next level.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
We owe a lot to our community. They brought us up, and it's a time that we inspire them. A leader is a dealer in hope. We'll forever give hope that it can be done. Thank you.
What is your final word? What is it you want to tell the viewer? 1 minute.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kenya is a great nation. Kenya has resources. We need caretakers and stewards who are honest to take care of the little resources we are earning and working for, and we will industrialize. So as we choose leadership, is not a hobby. It is not about me choosing the enemy of Caleb to make Caleb sad because I am drinking poison to kill my enemy. And you can guess what happens.
Okay. Let me remind you about JFC, Munene College of Health Sciences. It's based out in Thika. There are people who you can be able to trust if you went there or you took your child there, because they're going to equip your child, they're going to teach him, they're going to coach him, they're going to empower him, they're going to mentor him or her. They're going to give him the discipline he needs to serve our community. You see, it's a college that comes in one package. When you go there, you come out as a professional who is fit to be employed or to work or to set up a business anywhere in the world. So go to the website www.jfccollege.ac.ke, or you can send an email to info@jfccollege.ac.ke. You can make a call to 0700-114-115, 0703-114-115, and someone is listening, is waiting to listen to you and talk to you and guide you and take you to the next level. Thank you so much for tuning in. On behalf of the director of the show, Kelvin Kibet, this is CKS.
Bye.
The contrary. The Morning Scoop is sponsored by JFC Munene College of Health Sciences.